All righty, boo. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Inside Texas with your hosts, Jeff Michaels, and the lovely and talented Mitch Thames, and the man that's down there in the valley. He's on top of the telephone pole right now, the lovely and talented Andy Kirkland down there. Voted grandpa number one by his grandkids.
I paid him off.
How much did you pay him?
How much do you pay? I'll vote for you.
I'll vote for him too. You pay me.
Well, first of all, I'm paying in pesos because they don't know any better. So it's not much.
Well,
I'll take pesos as long as there's enough of them.
You can be my grandpa.
Buku.
Oh man, jeez. He gives them the correct weather forecast. Thus, he gives the wrong one, but he gives the grandkids the right one. That's what it is. But anyway, we got a lot of stuff, a few things to talk about. I shouldn't say a lot of stuff, but a few things to talk about tonight. But first, I want to bring Andy on to talk about his meeting with the Hurricane Center last week. It was actually the same day or the day after. I think the day after the show last week. And Andy, give us an update, if you could, sir, on how many million storms we're going to get this year.
Well, the first thing that they talked about was looking back at what the 24 season had, because it was really, really busy. Everybody had predicted, there's going to be a bunch of storms. And remember, it took off like crazy, and then it stopped right when it's normally the busiest part of the season. And then it still, took off again. And so we still had a bunch of storms. We had last year, we had 18 storms, 11 hurricanes, and 5 of those became major hurricanes. And one of them hit us. So It didn't hit us as a major hurricane, but it did. That storm had been a Category 5. And a lot of times as these storms grow up and get smaller and grow up and get smaller, they kind of carry that DNA. And we had some pretty bad winds in this area. You can just tell by the amount of debris that it generated as it got even up here to Wharton and on into Houston and north of Houston. So it's kind of a weird year for storms. You had the storm that hit in Florida, but the worst that it did was up in the North Carolina area. And that was because that storm was moving so fast. It was like at 28 miles an hour, and that's more than double the average speed that a landfalling hurricane has. It carried those winds 1,000 miles inland. And when you get up into those mountains, they're not used to that kind of wind and especially that kind of rain. Right. So, the forecast that they were giving us here is, and there's this early in the year, there's only a couple of places that actually put out forecasts. But the one that everybody kind of listens to is Colorado State. It used to be Dr. Gray had the forecast that came out, and now this is his student, Klotzbach, that does this one. And what CSU is saying is there are going to be 17 named storms, 9 hurricanes, and 4 of those will be major. Well, that's not much of a back off from last year. An average year is 14 storms, 7 hurricanes, and 3 majors. Now, they can give you all of these. If they tell you there's going to be 1 storm, your preparation should be the same.
That's exactly right. It don't take but 1.
That's it. It
don't take 14. It takes 1.
And Beryl didn't leave us a vaccination. It's not like they're going to avoid us just because Beryl visited last year. Some of those places over there in looks like, right there at the middle of the panhandle in Florida, those people are getting beat up annually, it seems like. That's a tough bunch over there.
It's almost like Western Louisiana with a couple of storms, but 2 storms hit one after another. I mean,
right.
Yeah. Lake Charles, down there. Cameron.
Lake Charles got blasted. Yeah.
Cameron.
So, it was funny. I was at that, or I went on to that seminar and watched it, and we had just had the National Weather Service here that morning talking about flooding and what the new things that are coming out from the hydrologist. And so that's great. I'm sure, Mitch, that Katie will be in touch with y'all about some of the new things that they have and trying to get to where you don't get the 10-foot forecast downtown anymore.
Right.
But at the same time, it seems like we're getting set up more and more for some of these rain bombs that hit, and you got to be prepared for those also.
I did see some of those models exactly where I live in Matagrda, and I zoomed in on it, and I'm like, oh my God! So a Category 5 could bring 9 feet of storm surge where I'm at.
I don't doubt that. I mean, I think a Category 5 puts water all the way to Highway 35.
Yeah, from what I saw, but I saw the amount of the footage. How much? I'm like 9 feet, and I'm gonna have to build Noah's Ark out of this thing.
That's it. Yeah. No, it and so much of that is dependent on the direction that the storm is coming from, the speed of the forward speed of the storm. If it misses you to the east by 10 miles, that could be a 20-foot difference in your storm surge.
Yes.
Well, and watching this every year and experience, and it has a lot to do too with the tides. If it hits during a high tide, those winds blowing that water, you're kind of in a worse case scenario. Now,
it really is.
The opposite is true. If you can, you're still going to flood in a low tide cycle, but I almost pay as much attention when they're predicting water and then the traditionally flooded areas. Pay a lot of attention to that storms, the tides, because if it hits during the high tide, I guarantee you,
it'll make a 2 or 3 foot difference just between a low tide or a high tide.
Yeah,
and 3 feet of water that's a huge difference.
Sure.
Yes.
And that's and it doesn't have to hit you. In 2008 when Ike hit, now Ike had been a Category 4 or 5 when it was still coming towards the Galveston area. We were on the lighter side of Ike. We were back on the west side.
They say
all that water got pushed into the bays, and Sargent and them, their water that they were getting wasn't off the Gulf; it was coming through the bay.
Right. That's right.
That water is bad all the way around. So I mean, it's early. I hope that everybody had noticed that last week was the week that you could get the sales tax taken off of all your hurricane supplies. I didn't see that much advertising for it up here, and I wish that they had pushed that a lot more.
No, it wasn't a whole lot. It wasn't a whole lot like we've seen in years past. Not at all. I talked to somebody else about that the other day. But I have been getting generators now in at the shop, so I know some people are ready, are preparing to be ready for.
Well, that. Jeff, that's good to hear, because I don't know. I'm the skeptic, because I'm the one throwing that message out there and early, and then I'm accused of being a fearmonger. You're just trying to scare everybody. Well, no, it's not worded to scare you. It's worded to have you get prepared.
Right.
Yeah. Information is they're sitting there, and this is what they don't want to hear. And it's like, well, God forbid I actually work and do something, and then we don't get a hurricane. Those are the same kind of people that'll bitch that they didn't get paid off of their life insurance because they didn't die.
Right. That's correct.
I know. But you live in the Gulf Coast. It's something you experience year after year. We're just coming off of a year with a hurricane. And damage all the way into East Texas, the Piney Woods. I just don't understand. But I can guarantee you right now, you can poll 100 people, and 50 are going to tell you that they're not ready, and they'll admit they're not ready, but they're not doing anything to get ready.
Well, and we haven't had a big evacuation scare in a long time.
I know.
And that always scares me, because you get people stuck on the road because they didn't want to wait. I mean, they wanted to wait and be sure, because, last time we went and nothing happened.
I know.
You get stuck on that highway, you're world hurt.
If we ever get flooding in Bay City, that's exactly what people are going to make fun of, the 10 foot of water in downtown.
Oh, sure.
and they're not going to be prepared. But now remind me, during Harvey, y'all did not call for an evacuation, mandatory evacuation.
No, we didn't. And remember, Harvey hit off to our west, put us on the dirty side of the storm, but nothing was driving Harvey. Harvey came in, and there were no winds that were telling it where to go. And I remember they were just showing loops around and doing the thing. And it just sat there and rained and rained and rained. And
y'all had Andy, y'all had over 300 high water rescues because
we
sent everybody was in Bay City, sitting there, and Judge Spinrath. I remember the call. Judge McDonald's talking to Spinrath, and Spinrath's going, "Hey man, we've got high water rescue, and we've got people twiddling their thumbs." And I remember, and I think the sheriff even sent some deputies y'all's way. We sent all of our assets.
Midfield Fire Department came over, and they've been my heroes because they saved a lot of people out at the Peach Creek area. They just saw the need, and they came and they helped. We had something that happened that hadn't happened in 115 years, and that was that water jumped out of the Colorado River watershed into the San Bernard watershed.
With Peach Creek, right?
Yeah, that got into Bowman Slough and Peach Creek. Yeah. That's what came through town, just devastating it because that hadn't, like I said, it hadn't happened in 115 years. We knew that we were going to flood. We just know that we weren't going to get it at 10 o'clock at night all at once. And so, and they say if that thing hadn't jumped out of the river back there, that was up by Egypt where it came out, that the water would have been 3 or 4 feet deeper here on the river, but it hit that and spread out. And,
was the hurricane the hurricane last year, was that in May, wasn't it?
It was in July.
Yeah, July.
Oh, the first hurricane?
The first it wasn't it must have been in June. I think it was in June.
It was early. I know it was early.
It was pretty early.
Yeah.
But I remember them talking about that we haven't had a May hurricane or a May storm in like 3 years.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but Beryl was actually the earliest Category 5 hurricane on record.
Right.
When it was way down in the Caribbean.
Andy, what would you recommend that counties do we're going to have our hurricane awareness seminar on May the 10th, and they're doing all the right things. They're giving stuff away. They're going to have vendors, free breakfast, free lunch. People will come out just for the meal.
Is that the LEPC putting that on with your county, or how are they doing that?
Yeah, I think they've all joined. We don't have enough volunteers, Andy, to do anything.
Nobody does.
With just by ourselves. I think it's the emergency operation, the county, the commissioners. I think LEPC is involved. I'm sure they are.
Good.
Andy, it's all hands on deck. Put on a big event like that, 9 to 2. I think registration starts at 8.
I think the biggest thing that y'all are going to be having to preach, and you really found this out last time, was the communication, getting the word out, and have more than one way to get emergency information out.
Yeah.
If it's going to be on Gulf Coast One radio, if it's going to be, people need to have a NOAA weather radio so that they can get something. They need to have these different ways to get this emergency information. And if they can't be informed and something bad happens, it's not our fault. We ask them, we beg them, please have a way to get this. You don't want to go have to sit out in your car in the middle of a hurricane just so you can find out if you're supposed to be evacuating or if you should have evacuated 24 hours ago.
Right.
Or call into the EOC so that we can get your name and number so we'll know what bodies to look for.
We don't have our sirens. We had the 32 sirens.
Right.
With STP, those have been dismantled now. Now we went to the integrated iPaws, integrated messaging system, which I say it's a siren on your phone, right? So
it pretty much is. Those are
you got to have cell towers for that, and we lost cell towers.
And that is something that Amanda needs to look at. I know we used to when we were getting ready for Rita. we called up the cellular providers and asked for a number of cows, the cells on wheels.
I know. We will now.
And have them ready to just sitting outside of the county. And as soon as the storm goes through, bring them in and so that you don't lose the cell thing. The other thing is, I don't know if y'all do this or not, but for your emergency responders, you can get your priority on your cell phones.
Yeah.
Where your cell phones will kick other people off so that you can make emergency calls.
Yeah, they've got a name for that. It's not.
Yeah, I don't remember what it is, but
yeah, I don't either. Yeah, all of the law enforcement.
Good.
And I tell you what, our law enforcement, my hat's off to them. They went back old school and started pulling out all their old radios.
Right, yeah. Right. The old. You don't have to hit the tower and all that stuff.
Oh my God! I mean, they all went old school. Mean immediately. Next thing I know, they're all communicating, and I'm thinking, and we sent a deputy to Matagrda, Palacios, sent a deputy to Matagrda, sent one to Sargent, sent one to Bay City, just so everybody could communicate. Now, we learned our lesson on the communication on wheels. I assure you, and not just the EOC. I'll tell you who else was crippled. Is come to find out in our medical world these days, Andy, everything is stored in the cloud.
Absolutely. Yep.
And so without that service, you're putting, I was talking to Warren Robichaud, he's the CEO of the hospital, and that put them, they went old school, pen and paper and pad.
Right. Yeah.
But they're crippled because they don't have records.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, they don't have the
access
in the file folder no more.
Right. Oh no, it's all electronic. It's all electronic, and that's
and I know the police. I know the police and the fire departments and emergency services, and you're talking about where they went old school to analog instead of digital. The digital stuff will go out, like if power goes out or cells or whatever, it goes out. It just goes out. But analog has its own, communicates to everybody, And
that's what we were doing. The fire departments became a hub. I'll tell you, really, and I just read a Facebook page from Sergeant. The ham radio operators.
Yeah.
I mean, they were amazing. That's the only communication other than driving back and forth until we had the deputy down there. That was the only communications we had. Was we have a ham radio operator in the EOC. They had a ham radio operator at the Sergeant Volunteer Fire Department.
Right.
And we were communicating. When I say old school, when you're going ham radio operator.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
But it was working. It was working. And it used to be you had one of them in Pierce. You had one of them in every DPS substation because that was the backup.
And if you think about it, the big hurricane that hit Puerto Rico, where they had no power on that island at all, was the ham operators were the ones that the only ones that were able to transmit to the state system.
And something else that I recommend is get the Starlink system.
Starlink.
That's what it was. They have that.
Yeah.
Well, that's what
I've got it now at the house because my internet was down for 18 days. I don't use it all the time because it's a little more expensive, but you can put it to sleep for $10 a month.
Okay.
And all you got to do is just text them and say, "Put me back on." And it's I'm doing that just because I hate not having the internet. I mean, it's pretty easy.
I don't know. So we've closed the EOC after, so I'm kind of out of the loop a little bit as far as what our IT departments are doing. But they're reinforcing a lot of that. We know we've already had serious conversations with AT&T and other providers. And the thing too, AT&T did come through finally, because they evidently have a drone connection to where they can fly the drone and there's a cell tower on the drone.
Wow. I never heard of that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's limited. It's not. The other thing we learned, Andy, that everybody needs to understand is the way that our power companies, Jackson Electric and AEP Texas both, the way they communicate with their offices was cell. And so that's how they get dispatched in the morning. They open their computer up and connect, and they get all of their equipment. I was talking to James Coleman, and the way they get FEMA to agree to reimburse them from a pole was they take the picture, send it via what? Cell.
Yeah.
To FEMA to say, here's the damaged pole, we want to replace it, and yes, we'll they say yes or no. All of that shut down. So we were able to move cow operations down to Sargent, cow operations over to the hospital, cow operations across the street from the EOC. And we kept them there. Well, it didn't hurt that we had Senator Cruz come by. We had the governor come by. We had, it didn't hurt.
No, that's the,
that we were able to say, if you pull this prior to this politician showing up, we're going to make sure we mention it. But
yeah,
I'll give them credit.
I'm going to be really interested to see. I know Centerpoint has invested millions into getting. Well, I mean, yeah, because they got their butt chewed off after the way that, I mean, we're getting a generator for our EOC from them for free.
We are too. We're going to have a ribbon cutting on May the 9th.
Yeah, they keep telling us everything's going to be ready by June the 1st, and I was like, because we were trying to help them. We said, we'll do this. Oh, no, this is all turnkey. Don't you worry. It'll be there. So I haven't seen them since, but I
don't know what this generator is going to look like, but they tell me it's too big to fit under the awning at the Civic Center. That's pretty big.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know, but evidently it's going to be.
Hell, I don't fit under the awning at the Civic Center.
No comment.
Okay, fine.
So that's where, I mean, that's how we're sitting. And now's the time that you do your early preparation.
Yeah, now's the
great
time.
To hear Jeff sitting there saying people are bringing their things in. I'm not bringing mine in this year.
Yep.
All I'm going to do is change the oil. You got it up and running so good last time. It still runs. Yep. I check it every now and then.
I still got that little old one over there that I haven't.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I still got that.
I probably just need to come get it out of your way.
Oh, that's right. It's sitting there. It's fine. I haven't done anything with it yet. But there was some stuff I wanted to make sure I can get parts for, because doggone it, some parts, man, are like obsolete. But
yeah,
we'll get there. We'll get there.
Well, and people need to understand that now's the time. Do a little bit at a time, because one of the things I hear is, well, Mitch, we've got people that are too poor to be able to load up. Because I'll guarantee you 6 hours after the winds die down nowadays is when they start screaming for FEMA cards.
Oh, yeah.
Where is my FEMA card? And where is my water and ice? And of course, down at Sargent, they really want to know where the beer and cigarettes are.
Right. God bless them.
And
well, what was so funny is, and you're right, everybody's begging for stuff beforehand. When we had all of the Katrina evacuees that were here in 2005, we had when Rita was coming to us, we had to evacuate them up to Austin. Y'all did too.
I know, evacuate the evacuees.
We had to, but what got me, as soon as that thing changed course and went east, I called them and said, "Don't come back.
I know.
Stay up there. Let us figure out what we want to do, but don't." And they came back without the buses. I don't know how the hell they were getting back, but they were beating the buses back. I was like, "Can we blow up the bridges on the Colorado? What do we need to do?" I mean, it was nuts. It really was. They were back before then
because we treated them like kings and queens.
Oh yeah. Well,
I brought them back for you, Andy. Remember, I had the helicopter, the Happy Radio helicopter. Remember, I brought them back.
That was crazy because I couldn't figure out how they all got. Everybody needed a ride up there,
Yeah.
But nobody needed a ride back. They all came back, and man, they were, well, that's a whole
Well,
different story.
One of the things that we have the hardest time, we took advantage of the 2 FEMA domes. We've got one at Tidehaven and one here in Bay City. And one of the things that we get is, well, we want to evacuate to the dome. Well,
Right.
The dome was never intended to house evacuees.
Right.
Because why would you house somebody in the path of the storm?
That's exactly right. And everybody gets so mad because, like, well, in Florida, I don't know, but Florida laws and our laws must be different. I know we can't set up shelters for people south of I-10.
Yes.
Red Cross won't even man them to help doing things because you can't trust the structural integrity of any of these buildings. And if we put you into a school and that school collapses, you're going to sue us to death.
Well, I've seen that in Florida now. I've seen that roof blowing off and there's 300 people huddled up in there.
Yep.
Well, that's the reason. And I don't blame Red Cross doesn't want to put their volunteers.
I don't blame them either.
But so that's a big deal is, why do we have to go, so far inland, I guess.
Right.
It's to keep them safe. I tell people all the time, the number one goal of the emergency management system that we've got is the health and safety of all our visitors and our visitors and our residents. It's not to keep you comfortable. It's to keep you safe.
We're going to keep you alive. That doesn't mean it's going to be in 72-degree air conditioning.
Yeah, with warm blankets and a hot meal.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the kind of things that people need to understand. I'm going to say it on this, and Andy, you agreed with me last time, and I'm trying to make this my new mantra, and that is, if we experience a category 1, then expect to be out of power for 1 week. If it's a category 2, expect to be out of power for 2 weeks. A 3, a 4, a 5, expect to be without power for that number of weeks.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. And especially in a rural community where, like we are.
Yeah.
If you're out County Road 1422 and you're the third one on the line and there's only 5 of you on that electric line, it's going to be a while.
Right.
And I know you need that electricity because your well isn't working and nothing is working. We can't help it. We can't tell the people, okay, they might be your trucks, but these people over here need it. They're going to go and fix where they can get the most number of people turned back on the fastest.
And the other thing I really want to stress, and I hope we can do this on the 10th, and with your help, and Jeff, with your help, and that is if you're, because we had a severe situation at our hospital where people that depended on ventilators, depended on power equipment, health equipment. When the power was out, they were vulnerable. Now, our hospital, because they weren't busy, they weren't inundated, they housed quite a few people overnight. And the only reason is they didn't want to send them home without power.
Right.
So my suggestion today is, and I don't want it to sound cruel, if you've got a medical condition that requires you to have power, I would strongly suggest that you go and evacuate to families or friends just in case. And then if we don't lose power, come on back.
Right.
Also, they need to go on that list.
I was just going to bring that up. Get on the list. Get on now. Don't wait until there's a storm in the Gulf.
Yeah. Go to the emergency management page. And even on my website, if you go to the emergency management page, there's a place there for you to sign up if you are unable to evacuate or need assistance or whatever. It's there. Fill it out. And the first thing that is when a storm happens is they go to that list and see, okay, well, we got these problems here. Fill it out. Don't say, well, no one filled it out for me and no one told me about it. We're telling you about it now. It's on there. Emergency management has it. It's on my website. There's a link there for you to fill out for it. And number 2 is this: when they restore power, and Mitch and Andy will tell you this, when they restore power, there's priority first, and priorities are going to be your hospitals. Right. Just because you're out of electricity at your house doesn't mean you're a priority. You're not. You eventually will get on, but priorities are going to be hospitals, number 1. Number 2, and I know this because I'm friends with some of the guys from AEP. The next ones are going to be like your HEBs, your stores, food supplies, food areas. They want to make sure that the freezers and all that stuff work. Now, HEB in Bay City has a decent size, and so does Walmart. It has a very big generating systems over there, and they could probably power up the whole city. They don't, but they probably could power up the whole city. But if those are down, they got to look and say, hey, are you guys okay? Do you need it hooked up? Where we got to go? So it's sections. They're also going to look at retirement homes, retirement facilities,
right. And nursing homes,
nursing homes and things like that. Those are next on the list. And 3 would be residential. So there's a 1, 2, and a 3 category on it that they look for. Gas stations, things like that are on certain grids. How many? There's a way to do it.
It's
you can't get mad. Don't get mad at, I've seen so many times, especially in Houston, when all the electric went out, they were going up to the electric guys with guns and saying, hey, my power ain't on. And, are any people get nuts? You're nuts.
Yeah, they're crazy.
If you don't want that problem to happen, then move away from the coast. Get the hell out of here. Just go someplace else. Go up north. Go to Canada. Go to Iceland, wherever Trump wants you to go. Go. But don't, when you live along the coast, and
yeah, you're going to have to expect. I know looking at the old numbers, and this was from I think like 1920 to 1965, something like that. Texas gets hit 1 out of every 8 years.
Yeah,
1 out of every 8 years. Yeah, and that's a hurricane. It's because we get a tropical storm or some type of tropical system almost every year.
Yeah,
but a hurricane hits almost once every 8 years. Well, we went a long time without getting anything. The fact that we got hit last year, that doesn't mean a whole lot. We haven't had big storms hitting in a while. Yeah. If they're actually forecasting this many storms, and I think they haven't really gotten into it real deep, but I think it's just, again, the warm water of the Gulf, the Caribbean, and the breeding ground in the ITCZ in the Atlantic Ocean. That if that doesn't change, we're going to be in for that for a 5-10 year cycle, and
we're already above the temperatures. Where they're supposed to
we
be.
are.
We're already above it.
So it doesn't take a whole lot to get a storm going when it's like that. And that was one other thing that they did talk about in that meeting that we had, was how scared you get because of the rapid intensification that we're seeing now that we didn't used to see 20 years ago. Yeah. They really are doing a good job, I think, of predicting when that's going to happen, but the fact that it's happening almost every time we're getting one in the Gulf is scary.
Yeah,
Andy. The other thing that really I wish we had an answer for, and maybe you can help, is when the folks in Sargent heard that Beryl was a Category 1. Then those folks are making a decision about whether to stay or leave. At Matagrda too. I don't mean to stand them out, but I guarantee you that there are a couple of 100 folks that stayed during Beryl that by the time it was hitting, wished they hadn't.
Well, remember when Beryl was just off coast? And all the weather people were saying it's going to hit as a 2.
Yeah, and I think it did.
When it was way off, yeah, it did in spots. I know, but you need to. All the emergency management people do this. If they're saying you're going to get a 3, you plan for a 4.
I know,
and that's not. You think, well, that's only 15 or 20 miles an hour more. But 20 miles an hour over that's a tremendous amount of energy that you're talking about. And
but the problem is the weather people in Houston are gods,
right?
And when I still get that every day around here, or not every day, but you get a good cold spell or heat, and they won't believe me with the forecast here or expectations here. You know, they're pumping, and of course when it's cold and winter, a lot of times there's 90 miles between here and the reporting the Bush Airport.
Well, and the people that you're talking to, Mitch, don't understand. We're all getting the same information, but you are getting it about 3 hours before the guys. I mean, you know, because of you're dialed in right to the National Hurricane Center, the National Weather Service. You're getting that data damn near off the plane while it's flying around.
Right.
They have to wait to get their data, and then they have to wait to figure out how to make this just as impressive as it could be, because they got to sell commercials.
Right.
You're trying to save lives. You know, you don't care about the commercials, and you can't get people to understand. You know, a 20-mile jog to the east or west makes a huge difference.
Right.
In the tides and in the wind and you know everything that's going on. Not to mention watching the stuff that's just offshore. And you've only got 40-mile-an-hour winds, but wait 20 minutes and see what's going to happen when that stuff comes on.
And I was just ready to say, it's like, you know, water temperature has a huge effect on the way a storm builds or how fast it builds. You know, it could be a 20 miles off the coast, and if it moves 5 or 6 miles, it could jump to a 2. You know, we've seen it with Katrina, you know, where it just took off like crazy up to a 5 and hit land 5. And it's like, holy crap, it was only a 2 yesterday, and now it's a 5. And, you know, it went back and forth between a 4 and a 5 and hit 5. It was just, you got to watch. You got to watch depending on where it hits, how it hits. Yeah. The eye of a storm, you know, it's a category 1 out a little farther. Well, we're getting category 2 winds out here. Well, that might happen. You know, it's not like a tornado where it's the exact same speed all the time. It's different areas have different wind variables on it. You know, the eye of the storm that came across here, I didn't think was all that bad. It really wasn't. It was out farther. It was over towards Sargent. It was up.
I was going to say, you were on the western wall. The stuff that you were getting had been over land most of the time. The people on the other side now, they were catching it coming right off the water.
Right. So people will say, you know, like going over towards Pulaski, well, we didn't get a lot of wind us and that, but 30 miles the other way, hell, they're getting, you know, 60-mile-an-hour more winds than they were over in Pulaski. So
I'll tell you right now, there was not one structure in Sargent, Texas that didn't have some kind of damage. Whether it was a few shingles or whether it was gone.
Right.
And it's very hard, just like when we talked to what's his name? It's very hard in a hurricane to determine where these water spouts or where these tornadoes drop down.
Oh, that's impossible.
Yeah, because they drop down so fast and go back up. You know,
so you can't predict. You can predict that it's possible, but you can't predict.
No, and I don't remember the storm that hit Florida where the tornadoes were the worst part of the hurricane.
Okay, that's correct.
You know, I mean that part was crazy. And I will get you the stats on rapidly increasing hurricanes off of that one, and I think it was the M storm this past year. And it dropped like 85 millibars in 3 hours.
Yeah.
And that jumped 3 categories.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like there ought to be, you know, we've got a strong 1 or a weak 2, or it's going to be a cat 1 and it could intensify to a 2.
Sure.
And then I think, you know, storm surge is most of the folks in Sargent, Matagrda, unless we get a 3 or better, most of those structures are built to I was in Commissioner's Court. You know, they're building now to 29.4 feet.
Wow.
That's the new FEMA regular. No, FEMA's 20. No, I take that. FEMA's 24 feet, and Matagrda adds 2 feet to it, so it's 27 feet.
Wow.
Is now the new standard to build. So most everything down in Sargent is
Going to be well. Remember when golly, what was it? I guess it was Ike, whichever one that hit out there on Bolivar Peninsula, and it was leveled except that one house.
That was Ike.
And that one house had built to a lot stronger, built to the hurricane code, I think, that was set for Florida.
Yeah, he was a contractor, I think.
And I mean, everybody else was blown away. That part is
well. And Andy, I remember the stories of the phone calls from folks that were cut off and couldn't leave, and died.
Sure,
but they were before they lost cell service. They were calling their loved ones, going, "Hey, I think I messed up."
Yep, and those. They don't. What they need to do is interview the people more often that stayed and got scared to death and said, "I'll never do this crap again. I'm leaving."
That's a good idea. I may reach out to the Sargent community and get a couple of
people that stayed that said we were scared to death.
You're on to something.
There you go.
There you go.
Interview the ones that said they going to stay and then shouldn't have.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Let people know.
I saw him do that on Fox Weather with a guy that had stayed on his boat.
Oh hell!
And he was like, I was about. He was laughing about it then, but he said, like, I'm afraid I'm going to crap so much, I'm going to sink the boat from the inside. I'm so scared.
Oh my God!
That's right.
That
was the guy over in Florida.
Yep. Yeah. He was like, no, next time, if there's 2 clouds together in hurricane season, I'm heading to North Carolina or somewhere. So,
all right. Well, we want to make sure everybody, May the 10th at the Civic Center. It starts early in the morning, goes till 1 or 2 in the afternoon.
9 to 2. Yep.
9 to 2. There you go. Make sure you come out. If you want emergency preparedness information, just about everything you can imagine, and different emergencies, different sets, things like, different sets of emergencies. You'll be able to get that information over there. Also, go ahead, Andy.
Well, it's pretty simple. Right now, you need to be thinking there's 5 things that everybody around the Texas coast needs to do. You need to have an evacuation plan. Just if you need to evacuate, you need to have a plan.
A family evacuation.
A family plan. Yep.
Yeah.
Assemble your disaster supplies. Don't wait until the storm's coming and HEB gets all their stuff taken off in 2 hours. Get your supplies together now. Check your insurance. A lot of, if you've got wind insurance, that doesn't mean that if you get an 8-foot storm tide that you're going to be covered. You got to have the flood insurance, and you can't get it for 30 days. It takes 30 days to get active, so you better get it now. You need a good communication plan within your family. Everybody's going to contact Aunt Martha in Dallas or something, but get a plan. Write it down so everybody knows. Write these plans down. And strengthen your home. The most houses, the weakest spot is your garage door. And if your garage door blows down and you start to get wind inside that house, it's all over. I mean, your house isn't built for that. Don't tape your windows. All you're doing is wasting tape. I mean, that's, and if you do need help with your plans, go to weather.gov/safety/hurricane plan. And they will have it. You can print it out and go and do it. But do it now. Don't start on it, when the storm's 2 days out. That's me.
I had that list on there. It's under the link is when you go to the website, it says hurricane preparedness.
Good.
So you go to the website, hurricane preparedness. It's there. It updates itself automatically, but that's the exact same spot we got. So
okay. And I'm going to update your weather tomorrow because they're starting to bring more rain into the forecast for later in the week. And so I'm going to wait and let them get some more her runs done. And I'll get you something around noon tomorrow.
Okay, good. And I'll send you up a can of Miller Lite.
I appreciate it. Like a 3-4 gallon can.
3 or 4.
Listen, it's tough, man. There's a lot of ball games on right now. You know,
It is a lot of ball.
I know there's a lot of ball games going on.
It was a tough week with Texas boys playing. The Texas girls were playing, and Astros are on the TV right now. So, but y'all be safe. Stay tuned to Gulf Coast One Radio, and we'll keep you informed.
All right, that's it. Thank you, Andy.
Yeah, if I can figure out how to get out of this damn thing, I'll do it.
No, that's okay. You can stay on. I don't care. We're not going to go.
Oh, no, you're running me off. That's okay. You didn't hurt me.
I ain't running you off. You stay. Okay, quit crying. Just stay. All right, shut up. Okay, here we go. Look, now he'll sit there.
No, I really couldn't figure out how to get off, but I want to hear what the next topic's going to be.
So the next subject is people that live in Wharton County. Should we close them off to coming to Matagrda or not? Mitch, you say yes.
Shut them down. Build a wall.
I want to build a wall around.
Build a wall. Build a wall.
Next time y'all want to evacuate through here, we're going to have a toll bridge there. Somebody go to the bank and get a bunch of dimes.
Call the sheriff's department.
Call the sheriff's department. That's right. All right. So the next thing we want to get on here, special thanks to all the volunteers running the girls softball league, Little League soccer group, and especially the Challenger baseball group. Go ahead, Mitch.
Yeah, Jeff, I had the best time Saturday. I did the cake auction for the Challenger baseball league, and the looks on those kids' faces. But here's what really got me. It takes an army of volunteers to put that on, and I'm in awe. I did an auction, and they were thanking me. I was there an hour, and these guys are there every night. They're there all the time, and then I get to thinking about over 400 kids playing soccer in the Bay City Soccer League, and all those volunteers, the girls softball, the boys Little League. And it just struck me today as I was doing this that we owe these volunteers a huge thank you for spending their spare time, donating their hours, donating sometimes all day Saturday. I know one particular individual I won't name him, but on the board, and he takes his whole Saturday. This is a guy that works just like all the rest of us, but yet instead of resting or playing on Saturday, he's out there making sure the kids have a field to play. And so, just a hats off, and thank yous. Add Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, Scout leaders. We just really live in a great country that honors volunteerism. And it just struck me Saturday when I was looking at those kids' faces. They're elated, man. I mean, they get to play baseball geared to them, just like all the rest of the kids. And I was just impressed, Jeff. Yeah. I had to say it. I just hats off to all the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of volunteers.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, and that's what we need. I mean, volunteers are what helped make this country what it is,
Amen.
What it is, and it has to keep on going. All right, so I want to hit the next thing. You and I talked a little bit about it.
Yeah.
But this Joe's rumor going around.
Yeah. I met the new owner. I will tell you, there's a lot of he said, she said. There's a lot of what I'm going to call crazy information, misinformation. I don't know anything. I don't know an employee. I know the young man that bought the restaurant was not intending to run it. He told me he was investor. He invests in restaurants. The situation that he had lined up for somebody to run the restaurant fell through, and he's got an awful lot of money invested buying this restaurant. And he was not a restaurant person. He doesn't know anything about restaurants. And I guess we've all got an opinion on what he should do. Here he is, bought a restaurant, has a lot of money tied up in it. I think he tried to do the best he could. I know several times they reached out for Bay City community to come support them financially. Jeff, during COVID, I remember all of us doing that with all the restaurants in Bay City and Matagrda County. So, my hat's off to them. I feel bad for them. Let's see what happens. I don't expect any employees to work for no pay. I certainly couldn't. But it's one of those things where let's don't pile on social media and make things work. Let's get to the bottom of it. Let's get those employees paid first.
Yeah.
They need employment.
Again, I'm going to say this. I've been in that business now, man, so long, it sucks, for over 40 some years. And I said this too, and I mean it. There's not a lot of people out there that say volunteer. I'm willing to volunteer my time and my knowledge, what I know, from being able to teach culinary arts and restaurant management and customer service training and all this other stuff. And menu choices and a P&L statement and all that other stuff for, what to make, what to sell the food for, what to look for, give them quality food, things like this. I'm willing to donate my time,
sure,
to be able to help this man be successful at his business. I don't want to own it. I don't want to manage it. If I have to train a manager or something, I can do that. That's not what I want. I just want success in our county, in the city. And, I'm a firm believer about that.
It's Italian food and everybody's so excited about having an Italian restaurant. But when we didn't have one, that's all we heard is, wow, we need an Italian restaurant.
Right. And there's so many people that get in the restaurant business. Let me tell you this. 80% of people that get in the restaurant business fail. 80%. So there's 20% of those businesses that work. Unless you come in with a good plan and what you got and have some backing, because you're going to have one or two slow years.
Sure.
Joe's has been there for a while. It's been changed hands a couple of times.
Oh, yeah.
I was familiar with the first group of people that came in there. As a matter of fact, they opened the same time I opened the Bolero, and was in Lisa Crowbear's office at the same time they were filing for their, their licenses and things like that. The other Joe's franchise people, they've all closed up since then, and this poor guy's hanging on a loop, with not being promised what he was promised, and that happens.
Right. That's right.
Happens a lot in this business, especially with partnerships and things like that.
Okay.
So I'm willing to be able to go in there if I can help. Great. If I can't, then I'll back down. But I don't think I don't have enough knowledge to be able to help him get to where he needs to go. I've done it with other businesses. I've done it with my own. We were very successful at other businesses. We just didn't have the cooperation of, one was COVID killed us at a restaurant, and the other one was we didn't have cooperation with the owners putting in the right equipment for what we need to do. So
right,
you see that a lot. But there's a restaurant. It's there. It's what do we got to do? What do you have to do to tweak it? What do you have to do to not necessarily make it better, but how to profit from it, how you can profit from it, how to advertise for it, how to promote it, how to do things like that.
Well, keep in mind too, they just had gone through a huge renovation.
Yeah,
we did a ribbon cutting in there. That place is huge. It's nice,
very huge, and it is very nice. And the other thing is, you don't necessarily have to do discounts, 30% off on this and this and that. You don't have to do that.
Right.
You really don't. If you give somebody good quality food and you're consistent about it.
Well, and good quality service too.
And good quality service. That's the next thing, which the city lacks a lot of in some places. Some of them have great service. You go to Chick-fil-A. That's great. You go to Seven Brew. My God, those people are awesome over there.
Right.
But then you go to someplace else and they just, you need to people want to feel cared about when they're at a restaurant, and they also want good quality food for a decent price, not $10 million. So what do you do? You have to sit down and go through each and everything separately, because everything is separate. And it's something I know. It's something I'm very passionate about. Always have been in that business, but I'm willing to help the guy if he's willing to take my help.
I think
So,
he'll take all
I'll
the
say
help.
that.
I mean, he was asking me for help weeks ago, so
We can get him. We can get him straight back up.
we'll make that out.
Well,
Let's talk about the bell.
well, hang on. Well, there's one other thing.
Oh.
A second, I want to see. I just noticed this. Blah, blah, blah. Let's talk a little about the retirement of Bay City ISD School Superintendent Dwight Haslett's June 30th last day.
Yep. So Dwight McHazlick has announced his retirement June 30th. He's out.
Wow.
And so I'm assuming the school board will be instituting a search for a new superintendent.
Man, I just
Good
saw
luck.
that, and yeah.
I know. I mean, that's a tough deal in finding the right mix for what you need.
Comes it is when you finally find somebody good, passionate, and caring, and we lose them for some reason.
And you know, I don't know the backstory. I don't. He and I have communicated via text quite a few times since I read it. I wanted to make sure. I went straight to the horse. I went straight to the source. I heard it as a rumor, and I texted him immediately and said, "Hey, this is what's out there. This is what I heard." He verified it. He said it's true. His last day is June 30th. We talked a little bit via text. I have not had a conversation with him. I do know, Jeff, you and I had him on the show talking about the financial difficulties that the district has had. And let me stress that the financial difficulties that the district has had pre-COVID, during COVID, and post-COVID.
Yes.
I know for a fact, and look, these people are friends of mine on the school board. They were passing multiple years. They were passing deficit budgets. And when I say deficit budgets, it sounds bad, but it's passing a budget that you're not going to get all the money all at once. The money's coming, but you're passing a deficit budget because of the way the state sends money down.
Right.
And then you had the COVID money that was pumped in here. And that's what Dr. McHazlitt told us about. And so he had instituted a plan to get back on a strong financial footing. They're still paying off the bond payments for all the new schools and the new stadium. And so I don't know what brought this along, but my regards to Dr. Dwight McHazlick. I've got along very well with him. He was very active in the community, very much open. Like we said, we had him on the show. I've known him to be a truthful man. I've known him to be square with me, good, bad, or indifferent. This is what the facts are. This is what the story is. I like that in a man, in a leader. And so, June 30th is Dr. McHazlitt's last day with us, and I'm sure they will find a interim superintendent. I know Townsend is the assistant superintendent. I don't have any inside knowledge of him being interim, but somebody will come in as an interim superintendent, kind of like we did with an interim city manager, if you'll remember that. Just bringing somebody in to do the day-to-day operations until they can have a permanent new hire.
Right. All right.
Hey, Mitch, does it feel like to you that the uncertainty that comes along with all the changes that the state has made as to what that's going to really be doing, I don't think it's Matagrda school district. I think all the school districts are going to, especially rural school districts, are going to be sitting there going, wow, what is this going to do to me? What is this going to do to my schools?
Well, I will tell you, I do communicate with every one of the school superintendents, and I'm not going to name names, but all of them are concerned. They're all making major, drastic, those are my words, not theirs, major, drastic changes, both from a fiscal standpoint as well as a structural standpoint in teaching our schools. Every one of our school superintendents, all 5 of them, were just recently together at our Education Industry Alliance. That's a chamber, the EDC and the CDC. We host that about once a quarter. All 5 of our school superintendents were there. I visited with all 5 of them. They work as a team just for our kids. So I think, you can't withhold school finance, school funding increases as the inflation is ravishing all of our budgets.
Sure.
And 2 years ago, you had a particular state governor that said, you're not going to get school raises until you give me vouchers.
Right.
And they did not give him vouchers, and he did not do school teacher raises and didn't do school finance increases. So we've limped on crutches here for 2 years. And we have placed, in my opinion, our ISDs in a difficult situation to make sure that we got school vouchers. Well, you got school vouchers. The Senate passed, the Senate accepted the House version. It's on its way to the governor's desk. He gets vouchers. I understand there is a school funding bill that's $8 billion in increases for schools, much of that for teacher raises.
Right.
So hopefully we can get our school systems back into some semblance of normal. Then throw in the recently released grades, campus grades that's been held up for 3 years based on a lawsuit. I know that we did here in Bay City, Andy, we had one of our elementaries that got an F rating.
Yeah.
Our school district was a B. Our high school and junior high were Bs. But we did have an elementary school that came in ranked as an F.
Well, I know when we went on Wharton County Day, when went up there and we talked to him, and he was talking about, the $20,000 raise that most of the teachers in the rural school districts were going to get. And one of the superintendents from Wharton County was there, and he said, man, that's great. They need that money. But the problem is with the other money that's been withheld, what are we going to do with our teacher assistants? What are we going to do with our other staff? What are we going to do with our counselors? All those, you give them $24,000 and you don't give these other people a darn thing, you're going to lose these people because they're going to get out of that system and they're going to go work somewhere else where they're going to get what they're worth.
Yeah.
And it's a scary thought.
It already is.
Yeah. And you're right. That really made me mad holding the schools hostage the way that he did. But that's politics, I guess, these days. And if you don't like it, vote them out.
Guess so.
So
all right. So the last thing, real quick here, we got a minute or two. The bell. Go ahead.
Well, I know we announced 100 years ago, and everybody wants to know where Taco Bell is and why aren't they? Well, they finally are seeking permit from the city. It's going to go on the corner of Norvell and State Highway 35, and that's right between the Don Julio's Mexican restaurant and the car wash. So they've got their drainage permit. They've got, as soon as they get their city permits, I think they're talking about breaking ground in June, but the Taco Bell is here. The next question is going to be the Kentucky Fried Chicken. And I haven't heard a word. Dead silence, radio silence. They own the land next to the vet, between the vet and the Hampton. They have their drainage plan. It
wasn't Kentucky Fried Chicken though.
Oh, what was it? Oh, Popeyes.
Popeyes.
Popeyes. I'm sorry. You're right. I get all my chicken places mixed up. Popeyes, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Popeyes is radio silent. Taco Bell is announced, and I will tell you that a couple of reasons why they closed. How many years ago? 6?
6, yeah.
One, the building owner chose not to remodel. About every 10 to so years, a lot of these people rebrand and get new logos and new color schemes and new this and new that. The other thing, if you'll remember, that was a joint restaurant phenomenon that happened in a lot of rural areas so that it would be cost effective.
Yeah.
And they are getting away from that model. And so you really don't see co-branded buildings, restaurants anymore.
No.
So a couple of reasons, but one, and if you remember, Chopsticks is now there. They renovated for a year.
Yes.
They spent a bunch of money renovating that building, and the owner during the time with the other Popeyes and the other store, I don't remember what it was. They just chose not to go in that direction. So well, that's the news. I want you to hear it from me.
I've got one thing that I wanted to mention today that I forgot. The Wharton County 100 Club is going to be doing their spaghetti cook-off. That's going to be May 8th. This is when we've got 9 different teams of police that think that they can cook a better spaghetti sauce than the cops next to them. The competition is a blast. It's so much fun, and they have a showmanship deal that also works. So that's May 8th out at the Wharton County Fairgrounds. Tickets are only $12. Come out and get a ticket from a police.
He's got to pay. That was a commercial.
Yeah, I think he's got to pay for that too. I believe.
I'll be happy to. You know what? Take it off of my weather check.
Well, I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry, sir. I don't handle the checks. That would be Lydia. You'd have to talk to her.
Well, never mind. I'll bring her tequila.
Let's see. She knows that. See, it just smoothes her over. I'll get nothing again. I see.
All right, Jeff. I'm losing you. I'm losing you, buddy.
You losing me? Are
no.
You're losing me?
Well, you start talking about tequila, I'm out.
It makes his clothes fall off.
Jesus Lord, I hope not. That would call for an evacuation, and we don't have to stand this up anymore.
You got that.
We all look like Jesus running across the bay or the Gulf of America or whatever it is this week.
That would be the fattest Jesus you ever seen in your life. All right. On behalf of myself and the lovely and talented Andy Kirkland and Mitch Thames, thanks for watching Inside Texas. We'll see you all next week.
Good job, guys.
Thank you, sir. We'll see you.
Yeah, I'll get the weather to you.